running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
He is back. BigBeat's back in the house. How we doing, my man?
Good morning, Howard. Hondo, man, let me tell you, I have some things for you, man. I have a hat for Mara. Let me tell you, I had a great time in Las Vegas. Kind of hard to have a bad time in Las Vegas, right? Unless you go to the craps table and you go blow your mortgage money, I guess. But look, let's be real honest here. There was some major themes at the Bitcoin conference, and it was the most well-attended conference of all crypto conferences that I've been to, and I've been to quite a few of them. Good morning, Mark Shark. Let me tell you, Nashville last year, Miami the year before, Miami the year before that, was well-attended. Now, I get it. Bitcoin's at 104,000, 110,000, somewhere in the range, right? I understand. That's why people are happy. But that wasn't what the themes were this year. The themes were, there were three of them. The first one was AI in general, right? That the integration of crypto into artificial intelligence is very high. And when the other one I really thought was big was robotics. Look, when you look at AI and you look at Bitcoin, you look at crypto in general, all of these three things were coming together, right? Including the Vice President of the United States saying that. He actually very somberly talked about the politicization of crypto and the conference. And he said, look, a lot of you love Bitcoin and crypto. You're mostly right-leaning with us. Thank you. And AI is mostly left-leaning. But it's not supposed to be that way, right? It's supposed to be all together. And I agree.
Neutral. Code is neutral. Code is neutral.
We're all together in this, right? You know, and I think one of the big themes this year was that in the past, crypto in general was pretty much considered not mainstream. We were on the fringes, Howard. I mean, we were not normal people. We were crazy people buying this Wazuzi, whatever coin. It's made of Figma, but guess what? It's not anymore, right? It's very mainstream. And I made a point earlier on another show, pre-market prep, but didn't stick. And Joe O'Connor. I hope you guys all watched that earlier. I had a friend 2 years ago. Steve, BigBeat, give me a stock to buy. Tell me what to buy, and please don't say Bitcoin. Bitcoin. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, NVIDIA. Why? Because NVIDIA is the rails in which they all of it, right? Last week, how do I buy Bitcoin? Well, I don't know. Google it, right? I mean, not to be that way, but guys, it's not that hard anymore. Now you can go to Coinbase or Kraken. It's real simple.
You can do it on Robinhood. You can do it on most of your equity accounts. You can buy iBit. Just make it easy for yourself.
And Howard, you'll be happy to know, over the weekend, even my own wife was like, okay, I want to buy some Bitcoin. And she didn't just buy Bitcoin, she bought it twice on a dip, right?
Wow, look at her.
Right. So my point is that when I went to these, and I've said this a million times, you know, this is one of my points of investing out there. If you are investing, and it doesn't matter what you invest in, I believe in channel checks, right? If you're going to buy Walmart stock, go to the store. If you're going to go buy corn, you're going long corn, you better know what's going on in the field. So go do your channel check. And I went to that channel check. I wanted to go see how Bitcoin was doing. And here's what I came back from that. Half of the people that were displaying out there and showing what their new wares were, half were software, but the other half was energy. How do I produce enough energy so that we can have AI, so that we can have Bitcoin? And here's what I heard. I heard from a lot of people in the past tell me, crypto is bad because it uses up so much energy. Okay. No, Bitcoin isn't even 1% of what AI is using today alone. All right.
And not only that, but because of Bitcoin miners' search for the cheapest energy source, and use of renewable energy, they are a plus to the ecosystem, not a negative.
That's correct.
They go find stranded energy, to the point where they'll follow the wildcatters and use their flared methane that comes off of oil rigs to power it. And now we see that that's gone away because know what happened? Exxon, Chevron, all that said, hey, we don't want somebody else to mine that.
That's right.
They're doing it themselves.
And you know, it's interesting how you took the words out of my mouth about it.
And on social media, from what I saw, there was a lot of non-Bitcoin stuff going on. Lightspark with their big announcement there, Ethereum, you know, Joseph Lubin, founder of Consensus, the guy, one of the money behind Ethereum, so to speak. He's called the founder, but let's face it, he did no developing or anything. That was done by Vitalik and his boys, but he gave them the money to do it. He funded it.
I mean, it's kind of like Al Gore.
Did you see that intersection more?
100%. I mean, there are still Bitcoin maximalists. We understand.
Absolutely.
That. As you know, I'm not. But the majority of stuff I have is that. I mean, it's. I saw a lot of Litecoin. Still, believe it or not. I did see a lot of the rails, right? So that was interesting to me. I will tell you the other side of this is security of crypto. And that would be companies that, how do I get my cold storage wallets off? I saw a lot of cold storage wallets out there. And banking, right? I think banking was also another one. And when I mean banking, I don't mean banking as in how do I store it? Banking as in loans.
Right. How can I secure it or escrow it, so to speak? It is an escrow, but how do we put it into a smart contract to do it? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually going to attend a seminar tomorrow that Blockworks is doing with on how developers are looking to include regulation or these checks and balances into the programming now, and how that's the next step.
Well, you know, when you have major companies, the biggest display there was Robinhood Crypto,
absolutely.
Right? So when you look at from that perspective and regulatory, they have big names. Vlad Tenev's going to go to the White House and say, "Hey," and of course, you know, we also have our fingers in it too as well. It's no longer just some fringe company going to the White House and saying, "Please, please, please help us." Now they're the companies that are going to be setting policy and crafting the legislation, and we want to be at that table when they do, because you know, you heard it from the vice president talk about it. Look, we want to make sure we want to be the leader in this. We don't want to be in the past. We want to be the leader of this. And so I actually had to agree with the vice president for the first time in a while, right? He was right, and he did it in a way I thought was apolitical, and I thought he did it in a way that was very thoughtful, which I was very impressed by, and I really like that. He's, as most people know, he's a tech guy who became a senator, and you know, and he also sees it from a perspective. I mean, he wrote Hillbilly Elegy, right, in the movie come out, about how he grew up in the poor areas. I know that feeling too. So you know, when you look at it, all that whole convergence, they're buying crypto too, Howard, and they're not buying whole Bitcoins. But if I ask people, you know, what's the percentage of Bitcoin that's been mined right now? Most people can't tell you. It's 93%, right?
Yeah, over 19 out of the 21.
So what's happening now, right? It's still the Michael Saylors of the world that are going to be the banks of the world. And what do we do next?
Speaking of which, he just released that they bought at 106K, so he's not scared. At 106K, they bought another 705 Bitcoin.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, he's not done. That's for sure. Let's get into a little bit into the regular markets here, Steve.
That the regular markets, but I don't think so anymore. I think crypto.
Well, yeah, they're all one market. We'll see that. I mean, a couple of things, you know, there that you said is, I would also point out that was really interesting for me. Hyperliquid, which is one of the newer layer ones, where a lot of the derivative exchanges or, you know, largest derivatives movements happening, met with the SEC and the CFTC at their request, so that they could learn more about how their systems work, what's behind the sort of the wall there. And they're interested because they, you know, at some point we're going to see the futures market's going to be the first one to do it, to go to blockchain as their settlement layer, and and then you'll have instant settlement. You won't be T1 anymore. You'll see everything settle. So they'll be the first to do it. So it's interesting to watch. And it was great to see Hyperliquid, one of the new ones there that just came back, sort of in there getting some love. Steve, steel tariffs are back, I guess. I had Mr. Flanagan on Friday, and I actually was wrong. I went contrarian and said, I've been Mr. Negative of late. You guys have been more bullish. I said, when it seemed like everything was pointing to a negative weekend, I said, maybe we'll get good news. We didn't get good news.
No. And I mentioned this in the last show a few minutes ago. If you're trying to trade based on your charts, again, I've told you this over the last few months, throw them out. It's great to have charts, but your charts aren't telling you what Trump's going to tweet, right? Is he watching the market 100,000 billion, trillion, quadrillion, Google level? Yes, he's watching the markets, and he is concerned what the markets are doing. And trust me, Scott Bessent is right there at the Treasury office, next door to the White House, walking over to the Oval and saying, Mr. President, the market's up or down today, right? It's happening. They are watching the markets. But here's what I don't really understand. I mean, we talked about this back in January and February. I wanted to see what? Clarity. Tell me what the president's going to do. I will then invest. Howard, a good example of that would be when NVIDIA fell to, not too long ago, 105. You and I bought that dip. I think you sold a little bit before I did, but I sold over, I sold at 143. Because I don't feel the same way. I don't know what the tariffs are going to do, right? The tariffs hitting China are affecting NVIDIA. They're affecting the trade of steel tariffs. You talk about it from steel. You got Nippon, U.S. Steel going at it, and the president says, yeah, we'll do it, but you're going to write me a check. Like, okay, but that doesn't help me as my costs of my new Switch 2 is going to go up. Here's what's interesting. Amazon did it first, but they got nailed by the White House. But now every company's doing it. They're now telling you why the prices of things are going up. They're telling you, look, this price was gone up because of this, this, and this, and this is the tariffs as are affecting your prices. Guess what? Egg prices that were just up to all-time highs are now closing in on all-time lows. Why?
Yeah, I mean, and I would point out the other part of it is, everybody pointed to China's in a worse condition. They're going to blink first. I just put that headline below. Who's going to blink first? They didn't blink over the weekend. In fact, they shot back and said, hey, you're lying, Mr. Trump. And, you are breaking the deal, not us.
If I told you to tell me, Howard, who is the biggest adversary of the United States? Now, I would tell you that it's a country trying to fight us. Right?
Yeah.
Or our allies physically fighting us, like Russia, right?
Iran, yeah.
Iran, Syria, right?
Yemen be a good one.
Yeah,
the Houthis.
Right. I wouldn't have said it, but the vice president said it at the conference. Our biggest adversary is China. It is? And in what? In the trade war that we started? Now, some people are going to argue and say, well, China started the trade war because this, and this, and they've been taking us for a long time. Well, you know what? They wouldn't if we didn't care about cheap TVs. Yeah. They wouldn't care about it if we don't want our computers and our technology because we want to be, quote, quote, a manufacturing country. I mean, John Adams said it best. He said, look, madam, I was talking to the Queen of France. He said, madam, I studied war so that my kids could study business, so that their kids could study education, so that their kids could study art like your kids, right? We want to go better. We don't want to be a manufacturing country anymore, right?
Nobody wants those jobs. Everything's the talk of robotics, but we're not there yet.
We're going to replace robotics anyway. Why do I want to go back 100 years to a time when I'm not even going to see in the future? We are a software, we are a service country, and we should continue to be that. Our biggest export is one thing and one thing only. It's entertainment, movies, music. We are
IP, intellectual property.
Right. Now, some could argue that our fight with China is over IP, right? That they steal our IP, they reverse engineer the products, and then they make their own cheaper and they sell it back to us. Okay, great. But by the time they sell it back to us, we're already building the next thing for them.
Right. That's what I was going to say. As long as we continue and Moore's law stays in place and those
things. But you're not
going
to be able to if we keep getting rid of those smart kids out of Harvard, right? We need those people coming in.
Yeah.
So
That's yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, bad news. All the news, like I said, was generally negative. And to take it one step further, I put this in here because you said, what to look for. I mean, they just said we're going to raise production on oil, and it's up 2.5%, 3% today.
It's almost $64 a barrel now. If you want to know whether inflation is coming or not, it was getting cheap, cheap, cheap. But oil's coming out now. They're going to lower production in some countries and raise it in some. Now, look, I will tell you, understanding OPEC the way that I do, that they don't have as much power over oil as they did right in the past.
Right.
And with Saudi Arabia says we're going to cut back on production, that's great, but they don't really. It's not as big as it used to be in the 70s and 80s and 90s that we're so used to, right? But when you look at it from Exxon, you mentioned Exxon and Mobil earlier, and Chevron. We have a thing in this country now. I had a nice dinner, believe it or not, with your friend that you love, Bubba at Todd Horowitz. We're back on our show. Todd talked about it out in Nevada. About the oil side of things, right? I said, well, Todd, I think one of the biggest things about oil is that when Chevron or Exxon or Mobil finds oil in the United States, they put a nice big bow on it, cap it, put a number on it, and then forget about it, shove it away like it's the lost Raiders of the Lost Ark of the Covenant. And then when prices of oil go up, we just release it, and because we get a better price for it. It's cheaper to buy foreign oil and spend it and burn it than it is to do our own, so that down the road we'll have it. Now, if I were to ask you, Howard, and I did this in the last show, tell me what the cheapest way of producing electricity for your home is today.
The cheapest way is coal.
Okay, that was exactly the answer that I got from them as well. And its answer is no, not anymore. It is now solar panels, believe it or not. Solar panels are now the cheapest that they've ever been in history. So if you're looking to put solar in your house, hey, here's the best time to do it, right? Now, I'm not telling you to put solar panels on your house because there's a lot of other reasons why you don't or do. That's a personal decision. But it's very cheap to do solar. Why? Because there is a plethora now of solar panels in China that are not being sold, right? Because tariffs are going up. But guess what? In the United States, they're making solar here. So solar panels is the key. The number two is now wind. And we talked about this, that the next level of energy is nuclear for us, and not nuclear as in you're going to have the big power plant next to your home. It's going to be like this little place and then like a microwave oven size where, it's going to sit in a home next to you. This doesn't look like a home or a little box. And that's how it's going to be. That's already happening, by the way, if you don't know out there. They're already in production, a lot of that now. So, I right now, to me, wow, look at that. Almost, there we go, $64. Look at silver right now taking off. You want to know what
gold's moving up?
Yeah. I just looked over. Silver is now almost $34 an ounce. What I tell you is going to go to
35.
That's right. And I think the top will be around 40, right around $43 a barrel. So, an ounce. So I think we're well on our way there as we don't have clarity. People are, and as foreign countries are still buying gold. And guess who had a nice chat with talking about gold at the conference?
Peter Schiff.
Peter himself. I had a long chat with him. And you know what? And I kind of agree with him. We talked about it from the perspective of Bitcoin because he was at the Bitcoin conference. I said, Peter, look, you really rag on Bitcoin. And
he makes all his money off it now.
Right. But I said, look around, Peter. I've been to all these conferences. I can tell you this is the most well-attended. He goes, yes, it's very well-attended. And he said, you know what, Steve, you're absolutely right, because think about it this way. The price of Bitcoin's up very high because you have a president who is very crypto friendly, a Congress that's very crypto friendly. You have a lot of things technology wise is very crypto friendly. You are on a synthetic high. And I didn't really have a response to that because he's absolutely right. What is the next catalyst to make crypto go higher, to make Bitcoin in general go higher? Is it adoption? Is it Michael Saylor buying more of it? Is it taking more off the exchanges? There's a lot of reasons why it could go up. But in a general overview, seeing what he saw, he's absolutely right. but gold has been right there the whole way going on up too. So people, it doesn't matter if you like Bitcoin or you like gold or hate Bitcoin or hate gold. People are turning to a store of value of something. And to me, as you all know, it's art. I like art too as well. But people are pulling to that. Tells you the world's not so good. That tells you that people aren't really happy. And I'll tell you that it was a very lukewarm reception politically for the vice president. It was not as exciting. And I understand it wasn't a campaign
That's
time.
not so. You know, it's funny because you seemed sort of surprised by that. I wasn't at all because I'm in that world. No, Bitcoin only. That conference is Bitcoin only. Bitcoin only. Bitcoin only. They barely like Bukele.
I would say that was
true, and that's.
I don't know, Howard. I mean, there was a lot of.
I know there's a lot more attendees, and that's why I was trying to ask you because it looked to me like there was more non-Bitcoin maxis than normal. Right. But they're the new entrants, so to speak. The OGs are still maxis to the death. Your Jack Dorseys, those guys, are going to be that, and they don't like it because they don't want to see anything except for Bitcoin, and I classify it that way myself. There's Bitcoin and then there's crypto. And to me, Bitcoin's its own commodity, storage of value. Will never be another one. I get asked every day in my course, what is going to be the next Bitcoin? There won't, because no one will use proof of work and nobody will non-pre-mine it. And there'll never be no VC money behind it. And there'll never be whales that start off at the beginning. So, that's the difference between the two. And they both have their place in my world. And I do think crypto is more of a talk on tech. And you talked about AI. And you're right. Again, micro payments and the things that are going to happen down the road when it comes to AI and the Internet of Things, our view is don't even have a grasp of what that is because it is so integral. It's going to be when the Teslas and the Lees and the Neos are all auto driving around, they'll be talking to each other, not just about not crashing, but I want to get in front of Steve because I'm late to go to the airport. So Steve already has it set that for 30 cents, he'll move his car over so I can pass him. And they'll talk to each other and make these things happen. And to do that, you're going to need digital currency to work with the digital aspect of AI. So two different, but very.
What do you say to people who say that the basis of all crypto was decentralization of money, and yet we're centralizing it by the companies like a Robinhood?
I don't like MicroStrategy anymore. Buying that much, that's what. Now I'm happy that there's 5 or 6 others that are joining the mix. Yeah. But I don't like a concentration. But keep in mind that concentration is still 500,000 Bitcoin out of 20 million.
Yes, but Peter did talk about that, right?
Keep trying.
When does Michael Saylor sell his Bitcoin? Now Michael says that he's going to keep it till he dies, and.
His personal, he's never selling it. He's going to destroy it. And then, until strategy decides. And you know what? As long as, so I'm not a fan of his, that I also do think that he already has a plan, where, to pay off this, note, we're going to sell on this date and we're going to do, and there'll be that eventuality. But he's still in the accumulation, and I think he's going to be the accumulation for a little while. And then you asked a little bit earlier about, a very U.S.-centric view. You're right. The U.S. has adopted Bitcoin and crypto. That isn't the case in the ECB to the same level. It isn't the case in a lot of other areas of the world. So where's that next impotence, the next jump where Peter Schiff's misguided is that, adoption level of Bitcoin is still 3 to 5%. When it hits 20%, what does that price look like? Whereas gold's adoption is probably at 80% of where it's going to be. Right. So, the difference is that gold is running out. Well, no, they probably both run out about the same time, right? Or be not be feasible to.
Now, let me talk about. I've got a stock pick for everybody that I like.
Yeah, let's get that on the screen here. I'll pull it up.
So a lot of people are asking me. You've been talking about Nvidia for so damn long, BigBeat. What are you talking about next? Listen, I'm gonna give you. If you're listening today. You heard me earlier on the show, another show earlier. I'm going to do it here for you, and I'm going to talk about it on Schwab next week when I'm at Schwab in New York. It's UiPath, PATH. This is my new like here, and why do I like it here? because the CEO is pivoting his whole company to agentic AI. And I think that is the future. This is a Kathy Wood's favorite. If you look back and I think, oh, Howard, you already found it for me. Thank you. Back in June, there is a huge gap up there. It has not been filled. I like that too as well. And they are looking at the next level of agentic AI. And if you don't know what agentic AI is, I'll give you a quick, kind of, we got a few minutes here before the market opens. But agentic AI is where the machine kind of becomes you a little bit. You tell it what things you want it to do, and create that feeling around you. Like I like NVIDIA stock and I like options, and machine turns for you, or you like coffee at 9 o'clock in the morning. You want a certain temperature. That's agentic AI. That's going to be the thing where you don't even have to understand code. And listen, I know people don't like to hear this, but developers are pretty much out of work here in about 5 more years because the speed of which we are seeing this agentic AI happening, right? And the speed of adoption of agentic AI. And UiPath is now right on that, and pun intended, path to be the leader of the agentic AI side of it. And I like the pivot here as well. The other side of this, and it all goes together, including quantum computing was the other theme that I missed for you guys, is robotics. Robotics is the next level, and I love all of this. And I don't mean robotics where the Jetsons clean your house and drive your car, but robotics as in how it helps you and answers questions. Look, Google search is dying very fast, folks. If you don't know that, I haven't used Google search for anything in the last 6 months. It's all for me, ChatGPT or Perplexity or Anthropic or Llama.
I use it to find websites still. That's it.
Or how to find me someplace.
Yeah, just type in if I'm looking for, I got to check something on, Netflix site, right. Netflix, and it finds it for me. That's it.
But think about it from the perspective of Netflix, agentic AI, right? Netflix be like, hey, they're already doing it, right? They say, oh, you like horror movies, you like comedy, but guess what? I know you like comedy on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, so we're gonna pick you out a couple of movies for Thursday night at 7 o'clock for comedy. But on Saturday night, when you're home and your partner's with you and you want to get scared, a horror movie will come up. Wow, how did it know that I wanted that? It will know what you like. So that's what I'm saying. Agentic AI is not just in your own personal computing; it'll be in everything we do.
Yep. No, absolutely. So, Steve, we are about 1 minute from the open here. Tick is down, has been slightly falling here as we've been talking. Advanced decline sitting about 410, so very neutral. We see the Qs set to open down about 40 basis points, SPY down about 30, so a little bit negative. Before that, we get into the open here, we got Powell speaking today. Is he resigning?
If you're a person whose emails are all being hit up by right-wing nut job stuff, yes, you think Powell has resigned and he's got a new tie. You think he's packed his bags already and he's gone. No, I do not think that's the case. I think Powell's probably going to talk about what he talked about with the president. That, Mr. President, I will make decisions, and we will make decisions as a Federal Reserve, not politically. I think that's what he's going to talk about.
Non-political.
Not political. That's right.
Yep.
All right, here we go. I think the market's going to go up a little bit. I see some buying. Look, we saw it overnight. We saw the selling happen. I think we see buyers all the way in this morning.
Nice. Let's see what we get here.
Look at that path opening up to the upside this morning as it was down earlier. Look at that.
Oh no, it was up 2.89 in the pre-market.
Okay.
So it had a nice jump. Let's see what we get here. Q's moving a little bit to the downside. Bitcoin back above 104 here slightly. Gold back at 33.50. So again, we've seen that move into
Canadian manufacturing PMI numbers coming out at 46.1. The forecast was 45.3. I agree with that. I think Canada's manufacturing will come back faster than the United States. They're obviously a much smaller country, so it's a lot easier for them to do that, right? So I do see that happening.
So far on the sectors here, it looks like we've got 3 in the green. We've got energy, like we've talked about. It's definitely been a talk of energy.
Oil
we have XLB, which is the
that's like pushing
material
here.
Selector, up about 30 basis points, and technology pretty flat.
All right, so NVIDIA 136.63. I have not bought back in my NVIDIA yet. I'm holding off. I do still think. Now look at Boeing. Boeing is now up another 1% today, up
Yeah.
$2.
Yep, Boeing just continues to move to the upside.
But remember, everybody, I thought that company was over, that they were gone and done. And it's barely the company. And it's silly.
What do I have? There we go. That's what's causing that problem. Yeah, 209.75 now.
Oil still continuing to fall here, 63.20 now a barrel, almost back to $63 a barrel. That should tell you everything about whether or not the market's going to go higher today or not. I agree. Look at that, Nasdaq taking off here.
Q's now positive on the day. So even though the tick is negative, Q's moving up here. And that's NVIDIA up 1.43%, driving that right now. Apple up a 0.5 percentage point also. Google, one of the big losers here, down about 2% on the weekend, trading back below the 170 handle there. Tesla slightly down here on the open also.
You want to talk about crypto? You want to talk about strategy? Let's talk about MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet also bought 1,088 Bitcoin versus what strategy
Japanese company listed on the stock market. That they're definitely the same thing. We saw it. GameStop, they did their buy. XXI, and I'm forgetting one other recent one that
Q's on the highs of the day. Look at that, and oil almost down to below the 63 handle here. Pays to watch the show, boys and girls. If you haven't done it yet, I'm clearly asking you all to like and subscribe out there, and make sure you get the newsletter. Our newsletter is growing very fast now. Appreciate that. Thank you. Also, make sure you repost this out there, get it out there so people watching us. We want to give everybody else a chance to make some money too, not just us, right?
Absolutely. Chip's doing pretty well today. It's good to see that. We got broadband, I know, on for earnings later this week, so they'll be the big one to keep an eye on here. And again, most of the early morning movers, Cleveland Cliffs, Nucor, Steel Dynamics, all about the tariff increase.
JetBlue CEO now saying that they are not pursuing a merger with United Airlines. I agree with that. I do like the fact that I do fly United Airlines, I do fly Jet, I do fly sometimes Spirit. But the mergers and acquisitions within that range of airlines is going to be really high here pretty soon. I think it's still moving higher, but look at it from the perspective of loyalty points and see how they combine them. And loyalty between JetBlue and United happened a few weeks ago. I'm glad to see that happen.
Blue sky. It is interesting because that was the way it was for a while, right? You had the Star Alliance and the This Alliance, and there was sort of consortiums that built up, and then everybody said, nope, it's every man or woman for themselves. And now we're seeing that come back in. Q's here are going to try to challenge that resistance at 521 here. So up about 20 basis points. So we are seeing the algos push us up right off the bat here in general. Chips, like I said, one of them leading the way, most of them in the green here. Mag 7, we see NVIDIA up 1.5% here, and everything but Google up so far, and even Google off lows of the day. So we are seeing tech bounce back really quickly here.
You know what name we haven't talked about today, and is fading very fast, and I know you don't like to say it, but it is time to fade the Musk. Tesla, to me, just had the lowest sales numbers, and Elon is being sent back to the woodshed, back to his home base of the cars, and they're just not selling them, and not selling in Europe, and they're not selling where they need to sell them in China and another place, right? Yes, the numbers are high, and I know over the last few days we've seen a little bit of a pop here in Tesla, but unless Supreme Court lets a stand on a ban on large capacity gun magazines, so they're not releasing that anymore. Okay, good. All right, I'll put that up there too. Supreme Court now saying the ban on large capacity gun mags, or the ban is still going to be set for that.
So as you were saying, Tesla is under intense competition from the Chinese EV makers, Li, Xpeng, NIO.
ASO got a 2%
You
here.
know,
That's that
and
news.
NIO's 13.1% year-over-year increase in their May sales deliveries, I think is what got Musk in trouble here today.
That news is hitting ASO here a little bit, down 1% here. I want to look at Dix does not sell high capacity ammo. DKS probably was not. Yeah, Dix all down 1.3%. Advanced decline is still down about 800, so it's a slight negative, even though some of the Mag 7 are pushed to the upside. I will say that I have been very hard, as you know, y'all here know, I'm not an Apple fan. But over the last few weeks, Howard, they've talked about the new iOS coming out in the fall, and a complete revamp of all of iOS, a new type of watch, and a new pair of glasses coming out, and I think that could be a catalyst, as we see from the WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference, what that iOS is supposedly looking like and what things are going to come out of it. I'm really, for the first time, I'm actually interested to see what's coming out of the WWDC.
Nice. There you go. Well, that's good stuff. Steve, our boy, Mr. Buffett. If I can find my right one. There it is. It was responsible for 5%, or is right now responsible for almost 5% of the short-term treasury purchases.
So when Warren told you that he sold a lot of stock and he raised cash, the last thing Warren Buffett wants is cash. He hates cash because it loses money.
Loses value, yeah.
Right. Because why? Because they print a lot of it. And he has to put it somewhere. So where was he thinking about putting it? And he did. He put it into treasuries, long-term treasuries for a very long, 30 years. 30 years now, what, 2.5? Gosh. The 10-year now is at 4.48% right now, and Q's on the highs right now. He was right. Warren Buffett was right again. Now, usually he does not buy back his own stock. That's unusual for him to do that. He has in the past, but very rarely. You got to figure something out. So it's mergers and acquisitions are next. So he usually buys companies, done that in the past. But we talked about this morning, Howard. He's buying shorter term trez to fund the government, right? Government why? Because the government has to raise the rates to get the people to attract money to come in. And he wins both ways. So he doesn't have to worry about the United States government paying Warren Buffett. They're going to have to pay him for that money, the usage of the money. So he knows that. Bitcoin now 104.6 now. And we're now, the Q's are now the highs of the day. Silver is now over 34.04 an ounce now. Yeah.
Steve, we do see with 98% of the companies reporting, the S&P 500's first quarter operating earnings are up about 6% over the prior year, 9th consecutive quarter of year-over-year growth. Do you think this is the last quarter that we're going to be up here?
Yes.
And we're going to see this as a lagging, sort of the last lagging indicator of the bullish market?
Yes, because we have not seen the effects of the tariffs yet. And we will start to see that and feel that in the fall. We talked about that, Howard, a little bit this morning before the show about how Amazon was the first company to do it and then rescinded it. But now other companies are doing it now and showing you, hey, we're raising the prices on you. Inflation's going to go back up. That's why they're not going to lower rates, unfortunately. Or at least that's what Powell is saying his rationale is. I don't really like that. Russia and Ukraine have concluded a ceasefire talks in Istanbul lasting over an hour. So again, I don't know if that's going to affect the markets just yet. But no, I don't think so, Howard. I think tariffs we'll start to see the effects of that. Yeah, billions of dollars coming in the treasury. Yeah. So you want to, as I always tell people, for most people in the world, you want to be a trillionaire. You want to be a billionaire? Start with 5 trillion, right? You'll be a billionaire. Because you're gonna lose it, right? It's the same thing with look, I see it if I were to guess the future, and my crystal ball, as you all know here, I have one on my desk. It's still broken. But my crystal ball tells me the same thing. I don't bet against Warren Buffett. Right? He's telling you what's going on. He tells you the world's falling apart. And the president's popularity is not good. It's probably one of the worst we've seen in a long time. He's very unpopular, especially now with the centralist folks, right? I honestly, this is going to be a tough summer of trading. I don't really want to hear this. We're going to go to what I call the doldrums, lower volumes. We go 12 advanced decline falling here down 1,200 now. Oil, light sweet crude now under $63 a barrel, as silver is still pushing higher at 34.06, and gold just went off my charts. Ouch. Gold now at 33.63 now an ounce. So people are telling you what they want. I've still not bought Nvidia. I don't like the sell off after earnings. I think you're going to see them say the same thing. You're already seeing Jensen Huang complaining about China, saying, look, China is a very valuable player. They buy a lot of our chips. We got to have that in order for me to be profitable, Mr. President. U.S. Supreme Court declines to hear challenge by Alpine Securities for financial industry regulatory authorities enforcement power. Ouch. Okay. They're still saying FINRA is still the powerful. All right, good. We need regulatory commissions out there, folks. Wall Street Journal says that the ECB is set to cut rates again and keep options open, according to Wall Street Journal. It just came out here. ECB going to cut. Remember when I was complaining about the ECB? I mean,
they're at two and change. I mean, they're close. Yeah. They're close to neutral.
Lagarde playing around. She knows.
I could be wrong, but I think they're at 2.75 right now.
Wow, I remember when I was complaining that Christine Lagarde wasn't lowering rates now, and then of course Germany was getting hit. My goodness, they're going to do it again. Hello, Mr. 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, maybe we want to see Powell talk about rates a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the markets are going to wait on. The Q's made that run to 521. That's been the resistance, resistance over the last few weeks. We just see jumps right to it, and then we get knocked down from it. So I do think it's going to take some good news by Powell to get us through it today. We're trying hard. So bulls are definitely trying here still. Now, I don't know if it's the algos or the retail. We'll find out over the next 15 minutes or so. I'll tell you what's not trying to move up, the Dixie.
Nope.
Our dollar is still, we talked to Mr. Flanagan on Friday. He'll be in here in a little bit. I think as long as everything's okay, he's in his new spot there in FLA with you. So hopefully he's not having any problems. But it went below the levels he was a little concerned of. Like he said, it wasn't, he wanted to watch for downside there. Now the question is, what is the downside as we broke below 99 again, raising basically
when
back up
to 98. Nationalistic, imperialistic protectionism.
2.25. So Mr. Flanagan actually just did that. So yeah. So if they cut again, they would go right to what we sort of consider the neutral rate at 2%.
Yeah.
Wow. So like I said, I knew that they were down. I wasn't up to where they were there. I knew that they had definitely moved much more than us. Down there. Q's still up about 1/4 percentage point here. But again, starting to trail a little bit here.
And it's true, because here you have the ECB cutting rates, which should push up manufacturing, should push up the economy, right? Cheaper to borrow, make things. And our U.S. steel will go up in price because of tariffs. Guess what countries do well during this time? European steel will do very well. So, wow. S&P global manufacturing PMI coming in at 52 versus 52.3, previous reading there. And the forecast is 52.3. So a little bit less than and manufacturing still slipping.
Same thing with ISM a little below the pre-limit, 52.3, came in at 52.
So we're still not a manufacturing country yet.
No, all right now.
And silver now on the highs of the session here now at 34.08. 33.67 now on gold here. Still pushing higher.
Yeah, 2.5% today. Again, just a flight to safety seems to be back into play a little bit here.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what? I always say the exact same thing here that the markets are about one thing. It's path of least resistance. And right now, that path of least resistance is not to the upside. It is, but we're also getting into the summer too. So, people slow down
And
their
then I'd
trading.
ask Steve, I don't know if you saw the article about the Trump collar, they're calling it, is, these tweets because they're good news, bad news, good news, bad news, good news, bad news. Are we just going to trade sideways while, based on the tweets? Because that's what I've been saying. I've been saying
If
that's
you
why
are
I'm like,
trading any other way,
watch 521 on the Qs. I mean, I've been saying the same thing for weeks.
yeah,
This is where you short it because, it's where it hits its highs after euphoria or whatever, and then blows off, and comes back down. That's it. And we've seen, what you're starting to see, though, is for the first time, because we saw it hit that level, then we got a good tweet and it made its jump up. So now if I start to look at the Qs where I do use my chart, is to say, okay, if we get good news when we're sitting at 521, 528 is about the high we go to. It does, you can start to look at levels of where good and bad news is sending us because we have been going sideways.
I 100% agree. I
ticket more pretty negative here. 700 advanced decline continuing to grow in the wrong way. Now almost negative 200. As I said, Q is now going to pretty much neutral. The Dow down 47 basis points. SPY down about 14. The RUT. So again, small caps get hurt the most, down about a 0.5 percentage point here this morning. Gold continuing to move up 33.68, up 2.4%, and then BigBeat's silver up 3.43%, the big winner so far today.
I mean, I got silver bars, baby. I have actual silver, so I do like it down here.
Let's take a quick look at what are the biggest morning movers here, pumpers. Applied Digital just jumped up 36%. Whoa. I didn't have that on my bingo card. They didn't have earnings today either. What just caused that? Oh, here you go. Two my favorite companies, Applied Digital, has just entered into a 15-year lease with CoreWeave, a former Bitcoin mining company turned cloud provider, that's backed by NVIDIA, will generate around $7 billion in revenue for the data center operator over the lease period. Deal could be a major lifeline for Applied Digital, which has been facing challenges in the data center hosting sector as it transitions into a data center real estate investment trust. So ADI moving up tremendously here on that news. And then, like we talked about, Steel Dynamics up almost 13%, Nucor up 12.76 cents. AI, if not dead yet, Tempest up 7.14% here this morning. CoreWeave on that news also gaining up another 4.86% here. Etsy with a nice move up here, 4.85% here today. Man, that's just been taking off here. A little surprised by that. Not sure what's
all right,
driving it.
I've just now. Okay, Howard, I am buying. Opening up a position here now in UiPath. I'm about to buy some now, and I just did. I bought a large. There it goes, big order there. I'm gonna have to look at my order because I did it at market there. It did execute, and I bought at 12.92.5. Look at that, 12.96. So 12.90, and maybe it holds. I don't know, but I like this buy down here. I've talked about it. Under 13 is where I like it.
Nice.
That's where I'm at. So 12.92.5.
I love it. I love it.
And this is one that could easily be acquired too by a company. I mean, the market cap of it is only $6 billion, so they could easily be picked up here.
Yeah. VIX is sitting back up about 4%, above 19 here.
No, 1289 now, slipping a little bit more, but I didn't get an extremely large position yet. So, but I did open up a position. Advanced decline now down almost
104 here.
300. Whew. Advanced decline line still slipping. Everything's slipping.
Yeah, there's still just weakness in the market, Steve, without a doubt. There isn't buyers stepping in yet.
So Fed's chair Powell
I'll more be looking at some.
Fed's chair Powell is meeting with the White House. There's a rate cut pressure coming in now. Yeah. I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a rate cut here. I think that the president and Powell are having a chat about this for sure. UiPath is maintained as a buy by Canaccord here. It just came in here.
Nice.
Look at that. See?
They're listening to you, BigBeat. I'll tell you what's sort of interesting to me here is Pony AI on this drop. If I see this slide a little bit more here, I'd be interested in Pony AI. I've played these AI sector ones a few times. Down around that 16 level gets very interesting. Let's see if there's anything else. DraftKings is getting hit pretty hard today, Steve, down about 6.69%.
Yep.
Satellite's getting kind of hit today, too. I noticed Lunar was down earlier. SATS down about 4.8 right now. There's a couple of ones that I like for bounce backs here. I like WeRide overall. I'm not a huge fan of Chinese companies, but when it comes to automated driving, they're the best. I don't like the way that chart looks, though, at all. I actually just passed the Sadie for a buy for a short. Q's now down a 0.25 percentage point. Like I said, I just didn't see the positivity here this morning.
Yeah, there's not much here that's very positive here. I think oil started to find a bottom here a little bit, but that's about it.
Banks down pretty significantly here this morning. Chip sector is a mixed bag now. It was up tremendously. If we look at the spider, all of them except for energy are, and slightly the material sector is slightly still up.
Silver 34.13 now an ounce as gold continues to power higher.
Yeah. Silver just hit a high of the day, 34.10. Will you lighten your load at 35, Steve?
Maybe not. I still
Howard hits it if it does it on a spike versus a climb up.
Yeah, if it does, I mean, if we see it from a perspective of okay, I'm buying a little bit more UiPath here. Okay. I do like this. Yeah, I'm going to buy a little bit more here, Howard.
There you go.
And this order now is going in at, just went in. This order, I did buy it also on market order here. So I got it at 1277.5. So I'm going to add those two numbers to get together. 12.
Nice. Just trying to see what's hitting here. Not much really interesting.
All right.
I think the biggest laggard for me to play would be Pony AI here.
All right,
CDW
I
down.
am in at 1285. So if you want to write that down, my orders are in at 1285. That's where I am.
You got it.
And I'm going to stay long there. I think those are the two numbers for me. I think I'm going to stick with this one for a while.
I got a weird one for you. I'm actually kind of liking the upside on UNH today.
I told people stick with it. I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to be one of those that just hurts your body.
Just like where it's at, this nice little cupping formation it's formed.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'm quite there yet this morning, but I'm definitely looking at it here.
But it's oversold. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's way oversold.
Yeah, it's starting to give its little upward trajectory. And again, if we follow what Boeing did, what Alibaba did when you and I bought it, or not Alibaba, Melly.
Oh, Melly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is sort of that view. Once it starts that bottoming position and starts to cup up, you know, maybe buy a little here, a little bit more after. So I'll keep you notified, but I like UNH personally here. And as I said, for more of a scalp position that I tend to like, I like Pony AI for the bounce back here this morning. Why did I put the AI behind it? Might have already bounced a little too far for me. I liked it better towards that. Like I said, bounced right down to that $16 level. See, we get a little bit of a pullback here, there. I would like that. Steve, would you start to be a nibbler on Berkshire Hathaway at sort of the current price here? It's pulled back a little bit nicely to 501.
I'm going to have to give my, obviously Warren a lot of love, but the answer is no. I don't think so. I think
if it falls to 495, I'm going to go long on it for the longer term trade.
Again, Berkshire Hathaway B.
What was that, Steve?
Berkshire B, correct?
Yeah. We're targeting that 495 area where it bodies finished here in mid-March. You can see linear regression on the daily. It's right at the bottom of it. Last two times it's hit it, it's done a nice bounce back. And part of that play or thesis is behind it is whenever they announce a Warren big play, it tends to start to grab attention and people start to look.
So I lied to you, Howard. I am buying more Path. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy another order of it now. So yeah, like this.
Right at the 200-day MA.
That's correct. That's exactly right. That's why I like this right here. And I like the thesis, and I like what the CEOs there is doing. I like it here a lot.
I'm actually gonna take a look at something here, maybe there.
And I bought this third round. I bought at 1263. So I'm going to give you the exact. I'm now. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I'll give you the exact averaged in. DCA'd in at 12.776 is now where I am now averaged in at. So now I think I'm going to hold here for a little while here. 12 point, I believe I said, what did I say? 12.76, I think. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that's I like this. I like this a lot, actually, Howard.
Nice. I can't argue there.
I like it better, actually,
I'm actually looking at it more of a leap here with it.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. I would look at it as if rates were to come down, say Powell does cut rates a little bit.
Yeah, look at the July expiry. It's only 60 cents for the $13 call.
Oh, wow. That's not bad. I like that. I like that play a lot, actually.
I am in on that.
And there's 1268 already, so maybe we found a bottom. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm giving myself time there. I like it. I like what you said. Makes sense. I like the 200-day MA below it. I'm trying to get it at 62 cents here on the $13 call for 718. The date
And
718.
it's 10 o'clock. Listen, I've not had my Steve Flanagan fix for the last few
You know, the
weeks.
man's impressing me with his background here. He's trying to outdo me. I'm getting a little nervous, so let's get him in the room here. There he is in Florida.
Oh my
Honeymoon
God,
first with Steve Flanagan. I love it. At least you put the American flag in with you.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Steve Flanagan network, where it's syndicated around the world and billions of people are watching what Steve Flanagan says on currency, because I know Steve Flanagan has been dead right about the dollar. I mean, you were concerned about it, right, Steve?
That's right, Steve. And this latest court battle over the legality of tariffs has really, been a gut shot to the dollar here, because the imposition of tariffs on steel and aluminum now to 50% effective June 4th, it is just another one that just kind of broke the camel's back here. And right now, you've got the dollar trading, at significant lows. Dollar index 98.85. I'm not finding a lot here. The close is now on the weeklies as I followed them on the way up.
Yeah.
You gotta follow them on the way down. The line I've always had in my whole career is data don't lie. So I fixate on the Friday closes, and that's where I take my cue from. And if they're not cooperating, I've got to adapt and change my views. And the dollar right now is in the dirt. Just look at the safe haven currencies, the yen, the Mexican peso, Canada, that gets you outside of the US, even the euro dollar, gold, Bitcoin. Everything is moving because the markets are back in the trading scared mode.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Do you think that they're as scared as they were a few months ago when the word tariff was going everywhere and there was no clarity? Yeah, Market Shark's right. Money moves first. That's right. But I don't think people are as. Let me put it this way. I think you heard me talk about earlier. I was at the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin conference in Vegas over the week. Last year, it was very, very, very pro-Trump. The world's going to be awesome because Trump's going to be president. This year, it seems a little bit more subdued. Do you feel that the malaise is starting to kick in? Like, oh, a Trump, another tweet. We've got to live by every tweet. We got to live by, and when I hear that the world is ending tomorrow because Canadians and foreigners aren't coming to the United States to spend their money, and the Canadians are selling their homes in Florida, are you seeing all of that, or is it more hype in the news than really what's really happening?
It's definitely more hype in the news.
Okay. I agree.
Okay, so let me to just expand. I'm giving you my dollar play right now. Doesn't look good, but I expect this is my zone now. June. I expect this to be honestly the last week of the negativity. So I am all in as far as my view for the rest of this year. I am a total buy the dip right now mentality
On the dollar.
On the dollar. I'm a total buy the dip on the U.S. The U.S. is so undervalued right now from a perspective of a large international investor. Just the simple flow back to get neutral in your dollar portfolio is going to be a huge surge. So I actually see, we just need another piece of positive. The Russia-Ukraine is just it just doesn't want to seem to come together. Israel and Hamas, it just doesn't seem to want to have a complete peace.
But Trump told you, oh, you give it to me, and the world's going to be just fine and peachy keen. And Trump, hey, listen, if I'm president, Vladimir Putin's going to listen to everything I have to say. And he's going to do just what I say because I know how to play 4D chess. I don't see that happening right now.
Not right now, and I'll give the benefit of the doubt. At least he is definitely trying. That we can obviously
I agree
see.
with that. Right, yes.
Okay, so that's a change. I do believe he will be successful in the geopolitical arena, but it's 4 months, 5 months, 6 months into a term. I think it's a lot more difficult than he probably anticipated. We know he loves to bloviate from that bully pulpit.
Yeah.
So, I think the reality is just what Musk said when he exited. He was like, wow, it's a lot harder at being in government and doing the things
And
you
he left with a black eye. So literally, yeah. I mean,
Mr. Flanagan, I got to ask, do you think are we going to challenge the lows that we saw earlier here in, end of April? Are we coming down towards that 97, 95 area, or do we have risk even below that here?
Great point, Howard. And, he is, let's put it in perspective why I'm so bullish. I think we're going to come down and retest those lows. In fact, we're already, doing that.
Right.
98.90 right now. I don't have
98.67,
98.67. It's lost 30 basis points while we're talking.
So still going. Okay. So yes, I do. But if it fails to make a new low after the retreat up and back down, if all that effort doesn't get us into a new low, then that's all you need to do to put two hands out and go long.
Okay. And if we break below that 97, 95, breaks the thesis for you?
It does break my thesis, but then I'm going to say, because I'm not going to bail just yet. I'm going to say, where is the close? It can break on an intraday chart. That it can break. It's where it closes.
Where does it need to close then? I think, Steve. I think the question's got to, if you were to, and what is the time frame with that? Because, for me, I think I'm going to watch to see what Powell says today. It's a very anticipated 1 o'clock today. I think he's meeting with the White House. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big one, Steve. I do think that the fact that Trump didn't say that much about the meeting other than his normal, right? I think probably that the two of these guys have come to an agreement to just keep the verbal rhetoric down and let me do.
Well, I think Powell agreed to it, but I don't think Trump agreed to it.
Well, he even ever since his a month ago, he's toned it down. He just kind of says the guy I really think he should be cutting. Okay, that's his staked up, but he's not coming up with the name calling and the other stuff that he typically can do. So let's see what happens. I think that you see ECB has got meetings. We've got two big meetings. We've got Bank of Canada on the 4th. They're expected to remain unchanged at 2.75. I would not be surprised if you see them give a 0.25% cut just to kind of bake it in why they can with the new prime minister.
And we talked about it earlier on the show. Like usually, and I get it. History is not always indicative of the future, but the United States is the one who leads on this.
Oh boy, Steve. Yeah, I mean,
how is Christine Lagarde, who over the last, I'm gonna give her a decade, has been all against lowering rates, except during one time, COVID, is now leading in this and lowering rates and making steel cheaper in Europe, making my God, Europe could be actually better than the United States coming out in manufacturing.
If you look at the markets over there, equity markets have outperformed the U.S. I mean, and of course, that's been a lot of this emphasis now behind this second move in the euro, as people are saying, you know what, the U.S., when you figure it out, I'll take a look at you. But for right now, my money's going into Europe. Again, it's the biggest market. It's the easiest access out of the dollar. So, yeah, that is, and she is taking the leadership role here. I don't think that Powell is going to sit very happy with that. I believe that I still hold to we will get a cut on the next meeting.
Yep.
And I do think that Powell is going to reassert himself. You've got core inflation in the Eurozone out tomorrow. It's expected to be at a yearly basis 2%, dropping from its 2.2. So guess what? Up goes the we did it, and back into that power position that Christine Lagarde has right now. We've got jolts coming out. Again, Canada's on the 4th, and the ECB's on the 5th. ECB, if they cut, they could put rates down to 2%. Wow, that would be amazing. That if they hit the 2% interest rate and 2% inflation goals before the U.S., yes, Steve, there's a lot of leadership role that's going to shift into Europe there. And that's going to be another big negative in the dollar index view for me, that it may not be able to get off its feet here. And it may in fact have a brief period of time where it, craters and trades lower. But
all right, then which one?
Yeah, well, if the dollar goes lower, guess what? There's going to be a lot of people over in Europe going, whoa, we're not advocating a strong currency, are we? Because, they've got
I think that Disney World will be happy to hear that. I think New York City is happy to hear that. I saw over the weekend some articles in the journals talking about how U.S. They expect in the summer to have an uptick in vacationing in the United States because it's so cheap, and at least the ones that can get in the country, I guess, and don't feel like they're going to be stopped at the border because they looked at porn on their freaking phone, right? I mean, let's get real honest here, Steve. I mean, the world's not happy with the United States right now. They look at us like we're a bunch of idiots, to be honest with you. I mean, I saw that in a lot of foreigners over the week. I was just in Vegas, and Vegas is a very good telltale bellwether when it comes to Asia, right? Because they come to Las Vegas to gamble, they come to LA to hang out and go see Hollywood, quote. There were more this year, I thought, than ever over here, right? And the Asian sector was including quote Chinese. They're not scared of us, they continue to come. They're not. When I hear Xi Jinping talk, I heard him over the weekend talk about it. He's like, fine, we don't care. But I do think they do care. I think there's some bluster. I think you said it right. Bloviating is what word you use with Trump on both sides. So you think that bloviation will slow down and stop in the summer? All right, that's good. What currency are you looking at to purchase for longer term to make a bigger move? What if you thought, okay, is it the Aussie dollar? Is it yen? Well, what would you actually be thinking that benefits the most with the rhetoric being toned down?
Well, I'll be real clear. The dollar, period. Simple.
Okay. So you don't care against what currency, it's just the Dixie period.
That's right. I would say number one currency is I want to be in the dollar. Take your choice of what currency you're going to be short against it. You obviously would look at the euro dollar. I think that the euro dollar up here is going to begin to become headwinds to their economic growth because, again, we're coming off of virtually a zero type of growth situation, 0.2, 0.3, whatever, but it's low growth, and that's what we're building off of. A headwind would be a stronger euro, a weaker dollar. Sterling would be another one that I would be looking at as a great short. I think that once sterling begins to break to the downside, presently around, where are we now? It's moving so fast while we're talking, 135.50. I think we're within a big figure and a half. So 137 is about the top point I'd be looking at there. So, I'm a dollar bull, but I've been mortally wounded here. No question about it. And I'll be very open about that. I'm watching this dollar right now because now I'm saying if we don't make new lows, then I know that I'm correct in my overall view.
Well, let me tell you how scared people are right now. Silver just hit 34.30 now and out.
There you go. Because the world is going, if the U.S. gets the big T word out, tariffs, and if we settle this and say, look, okay, enough with all this, the world, as you say, Steve, street talk, you were right on the street and you're looking going, I don't see anybody worried. And I don't think they're wrong. Sentiment, yeah, sentiment is negative to the U.S. right now, but sentiment turns like on a dime.
That's right.
So,
Right.
so right now we're in this lull, this negative. I believe that it's not as bad as the early April, the April turn. I think people are now able to grasp it and look at it in a different type of light. And I do think that this is the last move down before I think that things start turning here. But I need good news. I need some trade agreements. What's up? Nippon Steel, you can take over U.S. Steel. Okay, well, clearly there was a quid pro quo there. Where are the Japanese now to say, okay, boom, we got an agreement with you? So
What do you think, Honda? I think Howard, you got to tell me what your thoughts are here, because my thought has been that the dollar weakness is going to continue to pick up. I don't see a catalyst yet, as long as the president still talks about tariffs. I mean, I don't see a catalyst at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think that part of the drop in the dollar might have been the fact that, it's 5% of the market's Warren Buffett today or last week, whatever it was, in short-term, things. The bond market that Jamie Dimon spoke about and the crack there. I think some of these things are weighing on all. I think some people are in the same spot that Mr. Flanagan just admitted to being in, where he might have been on the wrong side, might have been a little early. So I think people are a little bit scrambling. And these aren't traders that are used to scrambling, right? And I would ask you that, Mr. Flanagan. These are, I'm seeing experts worried where I haven't seen them ever in my life of trading, and retail, of anything, a little bit calmer almost. I think people are on the wrong side of some trades.
I totally agree. And that's a good characterization of where I'm at. But personally, I do have defensive positions on.
Absolutely.
Still remain long gold and silver.
Okay, define your defensive position. How are you hedging it?
I'm long gold.
Okay, all right. So you're long Dixie, long gold. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm long silver. They actually, are pretty decent percentages now of overall. I've increased my my crypto exposure. Even with this whole downturn since April, I've been adding to those positions, and I am a dollar bull and I am a U.S. equity market bull. But until I see the data, which then to me is the lows, the closes, most importantly, until I see that telling me it's going now, I will begin to maybe reduce some of those positions. But I don't think that the overall volatility is disappearing. In fact, I think you've really just maybe come through Act 1, maybe Act 2. This is going to continue throughout the course of the next year or two, because the tectonic plates, interest rates that are undermining the entire global financial system have completely cracked, and they are totally out of line now for the past year or more. And if the ECB cuts again, it's just further aggravating that overall.
I think they are, right. I think you're going to see that, right. I think you're going to see her come out. She's, in the past, she's been very outspoken about how she's holding to the line and she's not going to lower rates, and now it's like it's her idea all along is to lower rates.
Steve, when we talk Christine Lagarde, we've got to, you must understand her career path. Bank of France, head of Bank of France, head of the IMF, right?
Yep.
I mean, top positions, then ECB. And of course, if you've been reading the articles, she was destined, when her term expires, I believe in 26, she was supposed to be the heir apparent to take over the WEF, the World Economic Forum, in Davos. And that suddenly got shortchanged because Klaus has kind of resigned ahead of his time.
Yeah, he's gone now. Yes.
So I don't know if she eventually, but this is a political animal as far as, in the world goes. She's probably the most important figurehead in that elitist group.
Sure.
Yep.
So I do expect her to champion the ECB on the meeting. I do expect a cut. I do think she's going to say, I've got 2% inflation and we've done everything right because we stuck to the course. Are you kidding me? Their interest rate cuts were not sticking to any course.
They were not doing anything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Those interest rate cuts were because everybody was hitting alarm bells that they were all going negative growth.
Right.
And I'm just, it's coming in now. Fed's Logan now says, despite uncertainty, the financial market volatility, the U.S. economy is resilient and the labor market is stable and inflation still somewhat above target. I don't know, man. They need a copy of Quasar Markets. I don't know. They need some news and something to do that. I don't know. It seems that the Fed is not on the same level as the ECB. We just talked about that, right? Why is the ECB leading us? Usually we're the country leading them, right?
Yeah, I think it comes to one. You've got a Federal Reserve Board made up of almost entirely academics. You don't have
a very good point.
Yeah, you don't have people that are getting out into the street like you just came back and said, "Wow, I don't see anybody scared here. They're all still coming." They are looking at models that are antiquated, that perhaps have not really been adjusted to me, not been adjusted to the monetary easing that's taken place over the last decade and a half. So again, I do my research and I see that since 2008 and then COVID and everything in between, monetary easing, quantitative easing throughout the world, that probably $50 trillion has been artificially pumped into the world.
And Howard talks about it from his own perspective of his own life, that he has another opportunity to refinance his home if the rates come down lower. And I just saw
now.
Yeah, they have it. But I just saw some interesting data. A friend of mine, Ryan, my neighbor, posted that the median age of all home buyers now in the United States, we'll say, is now 56 years old. That's up from 31 in 1981. What do you say to younger people when they look at Christine Lagarde and say, well, Christine's lowering it in Europe. Why don't I just go put my backpack on and go to Europe and go hang out in Europe and buy a home?
Yeah.
I mean, you can agree with me. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I don't think we have an answer for that. I mean, the home market in the U.S. is terrible. I mean, Canada, is actually worse, but there aren't many countries that are where it's less affordable to buy a house. It's one of the things that hopefully we can get figured out. I do think that some of this auto print, the 3D printer type thing should hopefully, in certain areas provide the answer. But that's the biggest problem that we have, I think, for the next generation is home ownership.
I agree. And I think that, that's clearly a point. If we analyze that, then where should U.S. rates be? We should have the 30-year mortgage back 5.5% maybe.
I'd like that. Can you do that for me, please?
Well, I mean, I don't understand, in this global environment that I look at with China, going straight down the road to deflation following Japan, Europe rates are suddenly going to be at 2%. And I don't, really see, outside of a slight month-to-month uptick here and there of 0.1 or 0.2, I don't really see inflation as something. I still see the world is fighting a deflationary overall environment. And you know what? Technology is not going to change that. It's only going to make it more so.
Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Flanagan, we're getting ready to end it up. What are you watching here today or over this week?
Well, all the safe havens are in place. So if you want to, are we going to turn? That's what you got to watch. You got to watch gold. You got to watch Bitcoin. You got to watch dollar yen. You have to watch the MEX. MEX is a 8.5% currency. So is it 8.5? Yeah, 8.5.
Yeah,
so
8.5.
You want to hold on. So watch the safe haven where all the money hides until clarity begins, and then it comes back scrambling out to the poker table.
Right.
That's how it is. So I'm watching the safe havens. I'm watching Bank of Canada and ECB. On Tuesday will be big tomorrow you'll have European zone core inflation. If it hits the 2%, I think you're going to have a lot of things coming out that are going to be pro-euro. So I'm thinking that the dollar index through Wednesday probably has downside and can put its low in around then.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll be back on Wednesday to talk about it. Big Beat and I will be here tomorrow morning. Everybody, thank you for joining us at Quasar Markets Live. Have a great day trading.
See you guys.
See ya.